Recording.
We have to invent.
Okay, notebooks out. Yeah, everybody. Writing utensils are ready. There is. I do have to share something, by the way. It's actually kind of fun. Yes. Just notes. We're just starting the next chapter. In the back. I got an email from somebody claiming to be Mr. Maltby, saying, "Hi, can you please contact me secretly? And honey, can you please buy me some Apple gift cards and then send them to, because I want to reward the staff for a job well done." Horrible English.
That's
It's
creepy.
like, it's a scam. It's somebody from India who's trying to.
Wait,
they do this a lot.
How do they know though about who Mr. Maltby
They
is?
can go. They go online to Facebook or onto the Sacred Heart website. They give Mr. Maltby's name, and they just say, "Oh, he's a principal or he's a headmaster." So they just start putting together stuff.
What if they get mad at us and come and kill us?
John,
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They're scared to death that we're going to catch them.
But they have planes.
I'm in an email conversation with them right
John, you
now.
really think they're gonna
So,
run a plane?
I'll let you know.
Can you let us write an email to them? Please. I beg of you. That will actually make
We'll see.
That would be hilarious.
Sit down.
It's your local drug dealer.
All right, let's get started. Quick question. Oh, yeah. Go. Oh, well, just real fast.
Does he know that you know things?
Yeah, I pretty much wrote back saying, by the way, if you want to impersonate Mr. Maltby, your English has to be much better. And he just wrote back saying, "Please correct my English for me."
What?
Serious? Wow. Okay. I think I'm going to write him back. Said I charge very reasonable rates, so $49.95, and you can pay me in Apple gift cards. Anyway, moving on.
LOL.
You need your phone.
Is that all you know how to say?
Yes, it is.
Except in literature?
This is join the club.
Inequalities. First, as a review, an equation. Am I writing this down?
Yes.
An equation is where you have two sides separated. I shouldn't hear the extra noise. By an equal sign. So if you have two thingies separated by an equal sign, that's called an equation. An inequality is two sides separated. Whoops. Separated by one of five symbols. Not an equal sign, but there are 5 ways to show that things are not equal. Does anyone know any? They're actually relatively common. Yeah, equal sign with a slash through it, which means not equal. Yeah, that's another one. Just a second. Not equal. Greater than, less than, and there are 2 more. I don't know, kind of combos. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Before I go too far, I want to make sure everybody can tell the difference. In years past, I don't know when, and I don't know where, but in some schools, there is some dear, well-meaning elementary school teacher who teaches inequalities with a method. I mean, I went through this. Where anybody ever heard the idea of, like, this is an alligator and it eats the bigger thing? Yeah, I mean, that's cute, and it's nice, and it's true up to a point. The problem is, if you just have this symbol, which is it? Is it less than or is it greater than? Let me know. It's less than. Now, if you're saying it's pointing at something bigger, it's kind of hard to tell because there's nothing there. I actually got this trick from somebody in high school well after I learned the less than and greater than. And I had a dickens of a time remembering these. It was just like the alligator chasing something. Well, there's nothing to chase. Where's the food? So I don't know which one is less than. This friend of mine did this. Alice for last time. That was so easy. I was like, where were you like 5 years ago?
What is that?
My
That's a less than
problems are
sign.
solved.
But
The
it's not-
alligator's chasing the S.
But it's not.
We
F.
don't need the yelling out of random comments.
I don't have any.
That's one trick in case you don't remember which one is which. So this is less than, and I just want to highlight, this is less than or equal to. Less than or equal to means either one would be fine. Like is, for example, true or false?
True.
I didn't even write it down. 2 is less than or equal to 4. What do you think? Some people get a little mixed up on this because they're not
False.
equal.
True.
This is true.
See?
Because it only has to be one or the other. Less than or equal to, either one. In this case, it's less than. How about this? Is 4 less than or equal to 4?
True.
That's true. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this.
Mm-hmm.
So first, make sure you know which ones are pointing which way. And 2, make sure that the double ones, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, count for both. You can do either or. They're actually very easy to please. The only thing that would not make less than or equal to happy is if this is actually greater. Now, quick example. This is from heaven knows how long ago. I'm going to give you a problem that's probably going to take about 7 steps to solve.
Infinity
3x.
plus infinity.
Shay, let's not flirt. 3x plus 7. Hold on a second. There. Actually, it'll take 5 steps. So 3x plus 7, all divided by 4, with a plus 2 after it, all divided by 9 is equal to 1. Can somebody talk me through how to solve that thing? Brandon, go.
You multiply by 9 first.
Yeah, okay. Why that first?
Because it's the farthest away from the X.
Right. Everybody look up here. Even on the semester exam for semester 1, there was a temptation, look at where I'm pointing. There was a temptation to subtract 2 first. That's not the farthest away thing. Do the 9 first. And since they divided by 9, use parentheses and multiply by 9. Please don't put the 9 in the upper right-hand corner. That looks like a power. It looks like to the 9th power, an exponent. So this, as long as you do it to both sides, by the way, you also cannot just do it to one side. There were some people who were trying to simplify this and said, well, I'll just multiply by 9, then I'll subtract 2, then I'll multiply by 4, and then you're left with x. Well, x equals what? And the problem is there has to be another side for you to do stuff to both sides. So these cancel. So I'm going to recopy 3x plus 7 all over 4 with a plus 2 is equal to what? Anybody? Rob?
What?
What goes here? 9. Keep going. Subtract 2 from both sides. What do you get so far? From beginning.
X plus 7 over 4
Good.
equals
7. Does that make sense? Rosie, take over.
Then you divide, you multiply both sides by 4.
Right. They divided by 4, so you multiply by 4. Don't subtract 7. Even though it looks farther away, it's not. It's on the same floor. 4 is in the basement. So cancel and tell me what you have so far.
3x plus 7 is equal to 28.
Good. Keep going.
Then you subtract 7 from both sides,
Okay. Keep going.
which is 3x equals 21.
Right. One more step.
Divide both sides by 3.
Yep.
Which is x equals 7.
Good. I need the x, I need the equals, and I need the 7. Don't forget any of it. Don't just write 7 and circle it. I need x equals 7. First of all, because that's the solution. And second of all, because if you can do that, you'll be able to do what I show you next. Everybody right with that so far? Doing okay? All right. What happens if I do this? I'm going to do a smaller problem. 5x minus 3 Hang on a second. Yeah. What's different about this problem? Miranda?
It's not equal to.
It's not equal to, what is it?
Greater than.
It's greater than. It's 5x minus 3 over 11 is greater than 2. So how do you, if they ask you to solve this, how do you do it? Well, there's good news and bad news. I'll give you the good news first. You do it the exact same way as you did over here. The bad news is, which is not all that bad, please don't accidentally start writing equals. I have had a lot of people do that. Very brilliant, smart, down-to-earth people, they start solving, and then halfway through it, they forget that it was greater than, and they just start writing equals, and their final solution is x equals something, and then they get a whole bunch of points taken off. What would you do first? Go.
If like in a problem you accidentally write equals but then at the end you put greater than.
That's called playing with fire. It's kind of like saying, oh, there's a gas tank. Oh, here's a match. I almost lit it, but I didn't quite. That means makes my heart leap out of my chest, but ultimately the final answer is what I'm looking for. And then if the final answer is wrong, then I look and see the work
But
earlier.
would you take off points for that as like work if you got the final?
If the answer is right, and if I think I know what you were doing, probably not. Now, if you have absolute nonsense for an answer and then you magically get the right answer, like if somebody hypothetically did that, you're going to get clobbered. Because usually that means you took a peek off at somebody else's test. So, yeah. How would you do this? Question.
I have a question. I kind of asked this last time, but what if you did like completely different things than the normal way and got the right answer? What would
If
you
it's
do?
anything mathematically good, I will probably know what it is, and I'll give you full credit for it if it works. If it's like, there's usually like 10 different ways to do a math problem, and I don't mind if you do another method, just make sure you know how to do it right. If it's something just magical hocus pocus, I can tell. I've seen people like, I was reading this, like every once in a while there was this previous school. Somebody, I finally figured out what they did. They were looking off of 2 different people's papers. They looked at one person's paper and they accidentally copied down all the work for problem number 5, and then they wrote down the answer for problem number 6.
They told you that?
No, it was just super duper obvious. It was just because all the work seemed to match problem 5, and it was something that was way beyond what they had been able to do before. And then problem number 6, they just hocus pocus got the right answer, which had nothing to do with the work that they showed me. The work that they showed me would never have come to that answer. So I had a little talk with them after class, and we redid that test. So somebody talk me through this. Catherine, what would you do first? Multiply by 11. What happens over here? Cancel. Tell me what's left.
5x minus 3 equals 20, greater than.
Good save. Greater than what? I'm sorry? 22. Somebody catch that somewhere? Make sure you put greater than. Question? All right.
Can I do it?
Keep going.
Just add 3.
Correct. What do you have so far?
5x is greater than 25.
Good. Keep going.
5.
Divide by 5.
And then x is greater than 5.
Got it. Now be aware, how many numbers on Earth are bigger than 5? Lots. Bucket loads. An infinite number. So if you're graphing this, for example, if I graphed this thing, if I ask you to graph this, I'm just going to cheat. Or normally I would do 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to cheat. X equals 7. I just put a single dot on 7 and I'm done. Does that make sense? A solid dot, because that's exactly what I need. Over here, I'm just curious if anyone remembers this from previous years. Anyone remember graphing this on a number line?
No.
I do, sure, yeah.
The number 5, I'll actually do it properly this time. I want to mark all the numbers bigger than 5. Do I want to include 5? No. Do I want to include 6?
Yes.
Yeah. So I want 6 darkened. How about 7?
Yes.
How about 8?
Yes.
How far does that go?
Forever.
How do you show going forever?
Infinity
Big
sign.
dot.
Kind of sort of. An arrow.
What about
Now,
the
by the
infinity
way, there are a couple numbers you missed.
The one.
Should I include 5.5?
5.00001.
Oh, yeah. 5.001. Should I include 5? Is there a way to get really, by the way, how would I cover all of these? I just want to cover them with solid. Is there a way to do that without going dot, 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 and having
Just
it run
write
for a while?
infinity.
A line.
Make a solid line with an arrow. Now, I want to get as close to 5 as I can without actually touching it. The mathematicians of the world said, do this. Put an open dot on 5 and the arrow going from there. The open dot means I don't want it, but I want everything beyond it. That solid line to the right means I want, because that's basically a bunch of solid dots. A solid line is a bunch of solid dots that are glued together so tightly you can't see daylight through it. And you don't have to do the dot, 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 dot. Your pencil's going to be like a millimeter long by the time you're done. But I sometimes just lift it up a little bit. By the way, I've seen some people do this. By the way, is it legal to just start at 5? Yeah, you can do that. I've seen some people do this.
Were they
That's
smart?
wrong.
Were they smart people?
What's the problem with that?
Were they
It's
dumb
along
people?
the number line.
Yeah, I can't even see it. I'd have to use a microscope to see it. So I've seen some people do this.
Were they smart?
IQ. That's so smart.
Now that, I did give them full credit. I was worried that they would run out of ink by the end of problem number 4 when they do that. And then I rip the paper. And it looks a little messy, but I will not mark it wrong. This is correct. But may I humbly suggest that if you want to save ink wear and tear on your wrist, put an open dot on 5, lift it up a little bit.
Are you sure? Because that looks more entertaining.
Sophisticated.
I won't stop you, but beware. There are going to be some problems where you have to do more than one on the same number line. And these get really super messy, really super fast.
Well, then you couldn't
So-
tell, so you couldn't mark it
So
wrong.
I wouldn't, if I can't tell, that means I clobber the points.
Oh. But what if you can explain it? to
Let's not go into hypotheticals. Does it make sense so far? So graphing, if I ask you to graph it, a single number like an equals, just put a solid dot. Solid means you want it. Open means you don't. It's kind of like the ACT or the CLT. Like if you do the bubble ABCD multiple choice, when you fill in something, that's the one you want. If you leave it blank, you don't want it. It's the exact same thing here. I'm leaving 5 blank, so I don't want it, but I want to fill in everything to the right, because all the numbers bigger than 5 are good for us here. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Now comes the weird part.
Okay, anyway.
I'm gonna
So we
save
need that,
this.
and then,
There is a catch. It's this. There are 4 operations. Write this down. This is important.
big.
I can almost guarantee that this will be a test question, by the way. There are 4 operations which flip
Flip.
inequality signs.
Inequality signs.
Gianna.
What I mean, we don't need that out loud, please. What I mean is, you know how we solved this? We like multiplied both sides by 11, added 3 to both sides. Those are operations. Those are things you do to both sides. Some things you do to both sides will cause the problem to change. It'll make the greater than flip backwards. It'll make it flip to a less than. Or if it's already less than, it flips to a greater than. Not everything does that, but there are 4 main operations that do. And I'd like you to memorize them. They kind of make sense too. the first one, you multiply or divide by a negative number. Like if you multiply both sides by negative 11, you've just changed the symbol. It's a little, multiplying by a negative, it reverses everything. It's kind of like holding up a mirror. I mean, I'm sure everybody does this, but has anybody ever stood in the mirror and waved at yourself? Yeah, I know, everybody does this, but I just try it one time. It's kind of, don't, make sure nobody's watching, otherwise they're going to start calling mental health services. But, hi, how you doing? Well, he's still waving at me, so I keep waving at him. No. But if you wave with your right hand, what does your mirror image wave with?
The left.
The long
hand.
hand.
Everything's reversed. And
It's wrong.
you might have heard it in case like if you're trying to like cut your hair in the mirror,
It's
really,
horrible.
really
If
hard.
you try to braid if you try to straighten
It's not
your
just if you
hair,
just
it's
have this little.
impossible.
I know it. Listen. You know, every once in a while I would sleep funny on my pillow, and then I'd have this little bit of hair that just will not. No matter how much hot water I slick it down with, it just goes boing. So I finally said, okay, scissors, hair, you're gonna die.
What?
And then I just snip it off. And then I said like, but you ever try this? Everything's
Yeah.
reversed. I stab myself with the scissors 3
Oh.
times by the time
Oh,
I'm
my
done.
brain.
And it's going backwards and then like, is that, I just have to, it's easier if I close my eyes and just do it by feel. And then open my eyes and says, does that look right? Yeah, okay, snip. But everything's reversed. It makes it very complicated. Left becomes right, right becomes left. Forward kind of becomes backward. It's really odd. Same thing happens here. If you multiply or divide by a negative, everything reverses. I'll show you an example in a moment. But the second,
Wait, you actually do that?
oh yeah,
So why? How do you have hair?
well, it doesn't happen every day. Square root. How many answers does a square root have?
2.
2. Memorize that, by the way. What kind?
Positive.
Positive and negative. Guess, not both sides. Both sides don't goof us up. One side does. Guess which one?
Negative.
The negative side. Negative caused the problem in step 1. Negative, I want to put parentheses,
Huh?
the negative answer only.
What else?
So you have 2 different answers for a square root. Only one of them will flip your inequality sign. The other one will not. You'll leave it alone. There's a third one which we actually played with. Remember splitting? Splitting an absolute value. We're really not going to focus much on that. It might be an extra credit question. I might have it as a real question. We'll see. But again, splitting an absolute value, you know what an absolute value is? Those straight bars. What's the absolute value of negative 3? 3. How do you get that? It's how far it is away from 0. What's the absolute value of positive 3? It's still 3. You always get what kind of answers out? Positives. What's the lowest you can ever go? 0. Correct. So splitting an absolute value is going the opposite way. It's taking one positive and splitting it into positive and negative. The negative side only. The negative answer only. Again, I haven't even shown you how to do, unless, I didn't show you how to split absolute values today. If I did, well, I'll show you later. And then fourth, by the way, this is actually rather tough. This is a pre-calc problem. I just want to include it in the list to be
Is that going to
complete.
be extra credit?
It's easy to do, it's just very hard to get it right. Reciprocals. If you take the reciprocal of both sides, the sign will flip. It's just the problem can get very complicated very fast. It's one thing to have x squared plus 5x plus 4 is, greater than 0. It's another thing to have 1 over x squared plus 5x plus 4 greater than 0. One has restrictions and one doesn't. It gets really complicated when you flip it upside down. You get restrictions all over the place, changes your answer, blah, blah, blah. Now, let me show you what this means for us. The main thing I'm gonna focus on is number 1 and number 2, at least for today. See what this looks like.
That screen is dirty.
Yeah, 12 minus 3x.
What does it equal?
Let me see.
Hi, how are you? No.
Jen.
Try that. And get off the chair, please. Thank you. So, I want to solve for x. Somebody tell me what to do first. Travis, help me out here. What's the very first thing you would do to get x by itself? Multiply by 2, because that's farthest away. As long as you do it to both sides. Don't do it yet. Look up here. You notice there's not an equal sign, there's an inequality? As soon as you start doing stuff to both sides, from this point on to forever, I'm going to start something new. I'm going to start asking a question of you. Every single time you do a step, I'm going to ask, does that flip the sign? And then the answer is either yes or no. I'm multiplying both sides, well, you're multiplying both sides by 2. So, Therese, what do you think? Multiplying both sides by 2, is that going to flip the sign or no? No, correct. Why not? It's positive. Multiplying by a negative would have flipped. Multiplying by a positive, nuh-uh. So these cancel, and it's just 12 minus 3x is still less than or equal to what? 6. Good. Rob, take over. What would you get rid of next? What's farthest away from the x? The 12. How do you get rid of it? Yeah, look up here. This is deceptive. Even on the last test or two, a lot of people were fooled into adding 12 to both sides because they saw this minus. But this minus doesn't belong to the 12, it belongs to 3x. This is yet another reason why I hate subtraction and I kill it on sight. Add the opposite. It's much easier to see what you should do. So subtract 12, I agree. By the way, subtracting 12, Rob, is that going to flip the sign?
No.
No. Why not? Looks like it's negative.
Well, it's not multiplying.
Right. It's not multiplying, it's not dividing by negative. Adding and subtracting never flip the sign. They're not strong enough. They're perfectly safe. Cancel. What do you have left, by the way?
Negative 3x
Good.
is less than or equal to negative 6.
-6. Excellent. Let me see. Mio Galini, take over. Divide by -3. I'm going to stop you for a second. Is that going to flip the sign? Yes. Explain. I'm sorry? You're dividing by a negative. Correct. This thing becomes what? Greater than or equal to. And this becomes x. And then what would this be, by the way? Done. X is greater than or equal to 2. Can somebody graph that on a number line? This is a little weird. And the question sometimes comes up, when you do a number line, do you absolutely have to use the number 0? Nah. It looks nice, but you don't have to. The only number you really, really need to use is what?
The number that it's
Yeah, that you're actually using. In this case, what?
jump 2.
2. The only number you absolutely have to use is 2.
What?
Your head.
How do you cover on a graph x is greater than or equal to 2? Yeah.
Do a big dot. And
Open a dot or closed dot?
close.
Closed.
And then you do an arrow.
Which way? To the left or to the right? Why do you say to the right?
Because it's greater than 2, not less
Yeah,
than.
all the numbers that are greater than 2 are to the right. Do a solid dot on 2, not an open dot. Open dot means you're skipping it. If this were just x is greater than 2, we want to skip 2. But greater than or equal to 2 wants to include 2. So I'm just going to lift this up a little bit to make it look elegant. And there you go. Does that make sense? I'm about to throw you a curveball. Different problem altogether. It's true or false? well, actually, how about this? Yeah, I'll do true or false. X cubed is greater than X.
Correct. Incorrect. I think it's
It
false.
depends on the
Don't
number.
try and read my face.
It depends on the number. Let me see my pen.
Yeah.
It depends on the number because if it's x is 1, then it's equal. If x is 0, then
Interesting.
it's
Well,
Let's
that's
try
why I
it.
said false, because I would think it was true, which means it's probably false.
If X is 1, it flops, because what is it really?
And if it's 0,
Is
oh,
it
it's
less
1.
than, is it greater than?
It's the equal.
It's equal.
It's
If you,
not
if you
positive.
pick the number 1, it's absolutely equals. By the way, there's another number that does that. Actually, two other
0.
numbers that do that.
0 and negative 1.
0 is another mess like that. 0 cubed is greater than 0? Nope.
Oh yeah, -1 would. Negative
0
1
cubed
would.
is equal to 0.
Because
And -1 does work, because it's cubed. So -1 cubed,
but then
what's
Yeah.
-1 times -1 times -1?
-1.
One.
It's -1. So it's not true here either. Can anybody think of a time where it's not even equal, but even worse, it's less than?
-3. I don't know.
-3, actually, yes.
Oh wow.
-27 would be less than -3. Good. I'll show you one more. A lot of people don't expect this one.
Ooh, can I guess? 5. Oh, a half.
What's 1/2?
It's
Cubed.
1. Oh, 1.5.
What's a half times a half? Let me know.
1.
One.
1/4.
That's adding. 1/4 times a half.
1/6.
1/8.
Bob,
Brendan, I'm tired.
How does 1/8 compare to 1/2?
It's less than.
It's less than. Well, that didn't work either. Does it work sometimes?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me what kind of numbers would work? Yeah.
3.
3 would work. Like what kind of numbers in general would work? Positives. Any numbers that are positive and that are, because positive 1/2 did not work.
Greater than
We'll tweak it a little bit. Greater than?
1.
Greater than 1.
I see.
If X is greater than 1, this works. It's basically, it's true only if X is bigger than 1. If X is less than 1, then it's either a fraction which goofs up, or it's a negative number which goofs up, or it's a 0 which goofs up. Does that make sense? There are going to be some problems in the homework, kinda, sorta like that. Take out your books, please. We're on page 7, that page on the homework I choose wrong. Sorry. We are on page 747. This is a plan. And this person almost wiping out on skis.
That's why you don't ski, because skiing is weird.
Falling is the best part.
I don't ski because I like my legs unbroken.
That's why you snowboard.
And because I stink at it. I like cross country skiing. Number 4, just for giggles. They give you a bunch of sample problems and they just say, fill in an equals, a greater than, or a less than. Just read those carefully. Those should be relatively easy, but do them slowly and carefully. Because some of those, when you raise them to a power, are not what you expect them to be. Number 4 should be self-explanatory then. By the way, no, actually that's fine. I was gonna say skip number 2, but I didn't assign it in the first place.
Whoever that is a terrible skier.
Number 5A, I'd like you to skip. Skip number 5A.
You're welcome. I'm sure you
It
can
says
do
write
it.
2 inequalities, well,
If you're really that sad about it.
actually, well, yeah, let's skip it anyway. I'll show you the answers on, if we get somebody's curious. Actually, I'll do it now. Can somebody do an inequality based on 5A?
What kind of homework?
2 is less than 9, or
3 is less than 7.
9 is greater than 2. There are actually 2 others. Well, 3 others. Yeah.
3 is
2 is not equal to 9.
3
I
is
know another one.
not equal. 3 is equal to
9 is not equal, okay, fine, there's 6. Cheesy. Actually, Actually, I guess there are 10.
So can we do 5x?
2 is less than or equal to 9. 9 is greater than or equal to 2. Blah, 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 blah. Say it again. You can do number 5 if you want, but it's not required. Number 6 is matching. So match the graph with the, they used green instead of dark arrow.
Oh, so that's what the green is?
Yeah, the green is the shaded part.
Okay.
So, and keep in mind, like graph D, it's shaded both ways. It's shaded to the left of 3 and to the right of 7. Number 7 should be self-explanatory. 8 should be relatively self-explanatory. Just plug them in carefully. 9, same thing. And number 10, don't stay up all night doing it, but
Don't worry, I won't.
try it.
I'll stay up
You
half
might
an
want
hour.
to do number 10 together in groups today. That's, check with
Yeah,
your
your
friends to
drawers
see
are really
how those
nice.
work. That is all I have for you. You get about 10 minutes, go ahead and pound away at those. The other ones are much easier to do. You could do them in study hall or whatever. Well, not study hall, because tomorrow's
I
second period.
hate that, it's the worst.
I'm not the biggest fan either, but I mean, I'm being recorded, aren't I? I think it's perfectly reasonable. Whatever. Anyway, for people who are listening at home, take care. This is my hand waving goodbye. Bye-bye.